What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review for you. One that I definitely had my eyes on just because I've been a fan of this band for so damn long, and I think they're super underrated when it comes down to 90s old school death metal. We are going over the latest offering from Morta Skuld, Creation Undone. This also comes out on the 23rd of February on Peaceful Records. This band formed in 1990 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is their 7th album overall, 3rd since reforming in 2012. They had a good run, at least with their first 2 albums, in particular Dying Remains and As Humanity Fades, which I see as just absolute stone cold classics in terms of Midwestern old school death metal. And after their 3rd album, they ended up breaking up in 1998, and then coming back, they've actually put out some really solid work again and kind of reestablished their brand, which has been kind of a trend here lately since Morbid Saint resurfaced after 30 years to put out an absolute banger. So yeah, there's something in the water in Wisconsin. It's got to be in one of the 1,000 lakes there, I'm sure. I actually had their last album, Suffer for Nothing, in 2020 on my year-end list. I thought that was one of their strongest in years. And I was really stoked to sit down and listen to this one.
Can you believe it or not? I don't know. Somehow, over the years, Morta Skuld has skipped my ears, which is insane because there are so many things I like about this band, having heard this album, and it baffles me how it's missed me for so long. Nick played me Dying Remains before we came down here, and it was absolutely wonderful, and I'm just a piece of crap, I guess, for having missed Morta Skuld all these years.
I'm not here to argue.
Why would he argue at this point? But man, stupid me. I'm gonna have to catch up. So, without further ado, here's me catching up. Kicks off with We Rise, We Fall. Out of the gate, double time groove blast and the start of driving aggressive riffing. Just a precursor for everything awesome that's about to be on this album.
That is 100% true. This band loves riffs, and I love riffs, so...
I love riffs.
Yeah, this album just is a nonstop barrage of riffs, groove, a little bit of blasting, actually more blasting than I'm kind of accustomed to. I mean, my first exposure was Dying Remains, and that is a groove-laden beatdown loaded with haunting, creepy melodies and just chuggy, nasty riffs. And granted, in terms of the riff department, you still get that. But overall, like, this has a more aggressive, just kind of straightforward, in-your-face vibe. Honestly, there were points in here where it kind of sounded like if Dying Fetus decided to go straight up old school death metal, you know, kind of strip out the brutality and slams, some of them at least, and just kind of go for that, like, early 90s sound.
The breakdown on We Rise, We Fall is straight Dying Fetus. It's almost slammy, but it's got that kind of broken up chug pattern that they do.
Overall, this still definitely has that old school charm. I mean, right down to the production. They got one Chris Wisco, who is an ex-member of both Jungle Rot and November's Doom. Also awesome Midwestern metal bands. Definitely a theme here. And this was mastered by Dave Otero. So this has like a really old school vibe.
Oh yeah.
But it sounds mixed well. Everything's separated really well. The guitars have a really solid tone to them. They're kind of murky, but they're just built to chug. And the bass underneath sounds nice and warm and kind of a nice, like, low, murky sound.
Yeah.
And the drums absolutely drive this. Like, this is very fast, a lot of double time drums, lots of blast beats.
Yep.
But they're kind of done intermittently in pockets. But the one thing this band knows how to do right out of the gate, set that groove. This is a pure headbanging album.
Yeah, at no point during this entire record did I ever stop jamming. And, I mean, mostly stank face jamming. Just, it's pure heaviness all the time. Unforeseen obstacles, that heavy chuggy opening. It's got some decapitated flair in it, I thought, as far as, like, syncopation is concerned. It just sounded like old school Decapitated.
Into Temptation as well has a lot of that kind of decapitated, syncopated chug. There's a really cool off-time pattern on there that is just built on this, like, triplet chug that goes through. But, like, there's a lot in this band's riff wheelhouse. And, you know, they like to kind of weave it around differently. Like, there are a lot of 90s death metal tropes, as there should be, because this is a 90s death metal act. But like they arrange things really cleverly in terms of like good hooks or playing on tropes of the style, like solid tremolo harmonies. There's a lot of like Morbid Angel vibes that pop up on here in terms of like tremolo harmonies when they're trying to be a little bit more dark and sinister. Songs like Painful Conflict have like, again, very pronounced kind of sinister dark tremolo harmonies. And then Into Temptation actually has like some more atmospheric dissonant melodies on top of, again, these bottom heavy chuggy riffs that are all over the place. And again, I can't labor this point enough. This album just flat out grooves hard. Like, there is just so many solid pockets of just riffs and grooves, and they like to lay on them and just kind of build on them.
Yeah, I like to dry hump them, actually. And that's something I really like when you do a band that's just all about chuggy groove, is they don't abandon these riffs too soon. They let them breathe, and they build on them with different drum patterns or different tempo changes, but the main riff sticks around and gets stuck in your head, and it's the heaviest thing possible, yet so simplistic, much like 90s death metal is.
Yeah, I mean, this is built on a formula that is, you know, tried and true, but I mean, this band's been doing it since 1990. So, I mean, this is their sound, and they're absolutely crushing it here. But they do kind of, like, spice up with some additional seasoning on here. Like, this is very meat and potatoes, but again, every now and then you get some different seasoning. Soul Piercing Sorrow honestly has elements of black metal and doom metal, at least a little bit I heard. Like, the tremolo harmonies are a little bit colder on that. They kind of have like a icy sort of vibe, and then there's like a descending doom metal riff on there. It's just like kind of stank and sludgy and bleak sounding, and kind of more reminiscent of their earlier work too, because while this is, again, very old school 90s death metal, it is very different than at least like those first two albums, which were, I don't know, a little bit more bleak and atmospheric sounding.
Self-Destructive Emotions does that too, with that nasty tremolo riff out of the gate, and then the absolutely sick Cannibal Corpse style crawling riff breakdown in that song, and the whole thing just sounds evil, like more evil than most of the rest of the record.
And a lot of this is done with the riffs themselves. There are leads on here, and I think they're pretty solid, but they really don't like jump out as much in terms of like all right, that's like super melodic or anything, or like has like a really cool shreddy part. They serve the songs really well. It's the harmonies and the really cool transitions they do. Like, generally when they get into a lead break, you're about to hear one of the sickest riffs in the song.
Yep.
Because they kind of save that good breakdown groove for like a nice lead to kind of soar on top of. But even when they let those alone and just kind of groove it up and kind of just bring like a big, nasty, chuggy riff, you're not going to complain that there's not a lead there, because everything on here sounds really full. And again, I think there's like a level of added brutality on here. Like, this is way blastier than their earlier stuff. And there are some riffs on here that, again, like a little bit more akin to brutal death metal. Like the triplet chug that pops up in the last track, By Design. It's just this savage triplet chug, almost suffocation style, sort of like blasty pattern. Heavier than hell. Like, honestly, one of the heaviest moments on an album that is just packed with only heavy moments, honestly.
Yes. And By Design, too, not only does it have that suffocation-esque style breakdown, but for the most part, it reminds me of Crowbar with faster drums. Super sludgy, nasty, bendy riffs. One of my favorite tracks on the album. Just dirty, filthy, just... like it smells like a swamp.
It smells like a cow that rolled in shit, because cows are all over Wisconsin because of the cheese.
That's fair.
Yeah, I know. We had to make some sort of like Wisconsin joke there. I don't feel like that was a really good one. But anyway, that's the joke. We're sorry, Wisconsin.
Yep. We're sorry in general.
Yeah.
If you're still watching at this point, thank you.
I already warmed him over with the States of Metal here recently, so I think I'm going to get away with some stuff.
Probably.
Another cool thing about this album is the pacing. None of these songs are super long. Like, I think most of them kind of range in that, 3.5 to 4 minutes. There are a couple that are a little bit longer, but none of them overstay their welcome. And I really like that because, there's not a single part on here where I would say it kind of plotted or it kind of just stayed on one moment too long. It's well paced across the board, and that's even within the songs too. There are some songs that are a little bit more transition happy. I would say Painful Conflict and Into Temptation.
Yeah.
We're bringing up that one a lot because that is an absolute standout. But they do shift around a little bit more, like from thrashy sections to blasts to more like lumbering grooves. But it doesn't sound like it's, too shifty or anything like that. Like, everything hangs out for the right amount of time for that riff to soak in, and kind of just, get you hooked and then, set you up for the next part, which they are great in transition on here. Everything about this album flows just super smoothly. Except
for the end of Reason. It just kind of ends. It cuts off, and that's it.
Yeah. In terms of the songwriting, that was just kind of like an odd ending there. Like it feels like there was going to be a little bit more, like one last breakdown or a blast beat section or something, but it kind of ends in this turnover that even the turnover didn't seem like that.
Yeah,
complete.
Even the turnover didn't sound complete. Like he stopped on the 3 instead of the 4.
Maybe this was the last song they did. It's like, we're done. I'm tired. We're old now. We need to take a nap.
Gotta go home. I need my arthritis medication. Help me.
I totally feel that.
I do too. More than you know.
And while I say, like, this is kind of that formulaic, old school death metal in a way, but in a good way, everything on here I think is just very tight, riffy, fun. I do have one gripe, and it's been kind of a gripe for most of their latter career. Dave Greger's vocals, I feel like, have kind of fallen off a little bit. They're just sort of a flat growl, and they really follow the riff to almost sort of like a robotic pace. Like, there isn't a lot of cleverness to the, cadences or anything like that.
No.
And I will give it that he has a more clear vocal, delivery. And every now and then there are some moments where he gets like a little bit of like fluctuation in terms of range, like into Temptation. I think he's a little bit more screamy on that, like just by a little bit. But overall, with the music being is like, heavy and dynamic, I feel like lower vocals would probably suit this a little bit more, like namely the early vocals on Dying Remains.
Either lower vocals or even turning some effect on it. And not like a lot by any means. I don't want robotics. I don't want anything that sounds unnatural. But it's very dry. Like, there's no reverb on it. It's just kind of there. And for something of this magnitude, as far as how hefty it is and destructive sounding it is, it's just dry.
Yeah, like I kept picturing like, some heavier, like a little bit more like aggressive or just something different in the way of a vocal delivery on like some of these breakdowns or these groovy sections.
Yeah.
I think that would add like a whole other layer of dynamic to this. But I mean, as is, I think this album's pretty damn awesome. And I had a good feeling about this one. Again, I really liked the last one. This one, man, I don't know. It might outdo Suffer for Nothing. I don't know. But right now, as it stands, I'm going to go ahead and give this 4 stars. And this is a solid 4. It is not going down. It could possibly go up. Everything about this is just steeped in 90s death metal excellence. It's fast. It's energetic. The riffs on here are amazing. There is not a song on here that doesn't greet you to the face with a brick with the word riff written on it.
Yep.
It is just punchy and catchy. Like, honestly, like a lot of this kind of reminds me of like Blood Red Throne. Like, if you like their style of just on the nose riffs in your face at all times and kind of like a no breaks run of blast beats and grooves, like this album is 100% you. It is a little bit different than their earlier stuff, which I still do favor their earlier stuff because those first 2 albums are just classics. I'll be flat out honest. But I really like what they're doing here. It's a little bit more brutal and fast, and I think that kind of adds some extra energy to it. But, I mean, yeah, Morta Skuld is like one of Wisconsin's best kept secrets in terms of old school death metal. If you're a longtime fan of this band, I'm really sure you're going to dig this. And if you like Malevolent Creation, Monstrosity, Obituary, definitely some Jungle Rot too, you'll probably dig the hell out of this, so definitely check it out.
Without further ado, I give you my rating for my first experience for Morta Skuld. Wow, this was not what I expected. I don't know what I expected, but this is not what I expected. It's 4 stars for me, and again, much like this guy, a solid 4. I pretty much knew that right off the bat after like the 3rd song. I was like, you know what? If we keep going at this pace, this is going to be really killer. And they didn't stop. Just riff after riff after riff, and as simplistic as it may be, it hits hard every time. There's not a single moment where the riffs don't just beat you down. Like, it's like getting hit with a bat over and over and over again. Just riff, good job, riff, Ka-ja!
The bat also has the word riff
The bat,
burned
right.
into it.
Right. The brick has it etched, the bat has it burned. Both of them, though, contain riffs, and they're all catchy. It's full of great tags and hooks and melody, although melody isn't like really prevalent, it's there enough to get you hooked. There were sinister moments, there were dark and heavy moments. The breakdowns are just flat out disgusting. Yeah, I really don't have a whole lot of issues. I mean, the vocals were a little dry, but who cares? Because the music was just so goddamn heavy. Whew. Riffs. All day. Oh yeah, if you like Morbid Angel, Jungle Rod, Obituary, Malevolent Creation, a ton of just chuggy, awesome, heavy, old school death metal, man. Suffocation. Again, Dying Fetus, if they, were a little bit more relenting on their brutality. It's this. This was really fucking neat, and I will go back and listen to all of it because I need to, because this is my bag. So if you like it, do it.
If you like his bag, do his bag.
Right. If you like my bag, do my bag. Do it.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also on our channel on the banner in the bottom right-hand corner. But if you're looking for Thralls Metal stuff, you have to go to thrallsmetal.com. We have new shirts there. We have old shirts that are discounted, provided we have your size. And we also have hats, too. So if you're looking for any of that stuff, click the link down below.
Tons of stuff going on at Thralls of Metal. Reviews, collection updates, What's John Jammin will return. We're going to film the Black Dahlia Murder ranking this weekend. Hell yeah. I'm really excited. The Almighty Meshuggah comes after that. Always stuff going on at Thralls of Metal. Always. And we do it because of you guys. And we appreciate you all very much. Thank you for continuing to tune in and follow us and give us your 2 cents and talk to us and all the things that people do when they like somebody. It's weird. I don't get it because I know us. But so do you now, because you let us into your living rooms or your bedrooms or something. You let us into your lives, and that's crazy. We've been at this for 5 years. We thank you for that.
Yeah, you guys can literally be watching anything else. Like
anything.
I know what's on YouTube. Lots of really interesting stuff. Lots of stupid stuff, ourselves included.
Yes.
But, possibly better stuff. But seriously, guys, you are absolutely awesome, and you keep us going. And, again, we have a ton of stuff planned for you. So one more big thank you because you're awesome, and we will catch you later.